COH-TV radio station, The Boost, at the corner of Alameda and Wichita in Houston, Texas. Come join me because we're going to chat about leadership and showing up and getting aligned and getting clear, taking action and voting and voting and voting and all of that stuff. So join me for some great conversation and a few laughs. And when we're done, be sure and head over to your favorite podcast platform or to my website, laurelrutledge.com, and subscribe to my weekly podcast, The Rutledge Perspective Podcast. Episodes drop every Wednesday, and they are short and sweet, commute-worthy. And I promise you, you'll get something out of every one that will help you shift your perspective. Because when you shift your perspective, you shift your circumstances. See you soon. Good morning. It is Tuesday, y'all. I am Laurel Rutledge, the host of the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show, live here on KCOH TV Radio, the Boost Global Network in Houston, Texas, at the corner of Alameda and Wichita. You can see our beautiful window to the world out here. And I am thrilled and pumped to have my guest on today. Y'all, look, this conversation is going to be deep and wide and all the things. And so we are going to talk about voting, and we are going to talk about some other announcements I have about the website and all that kind of stuff, but we're going to do that at the end because I want to dive into this conversation with Devin Strahan about Devin's Spiked Root Beer, because it's not just about the product. This is about a journey, and this journey is incredible. So we are going to just dive right in. So Devin,
good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is going to be awesome. So I want you guys to know, again, his bio is in the show notes, but Devin is a chef. This is his second business that he's built, second multi-million-dollar business that he's built. He has taken all of his knowledge and what he's done to move forward and to do something that's really unique. So again, you heard me say Devin's Spiked Root Beer. So we're also talking about an entrepreneur that is a product-based entrepreneur and a product-based entrepreneur in the space of food. So we were talking earlier before the show started about how you buy watermelon and which bananas you can buy and putting your pear trees up so you can get the bees. Look, it's a thing. So we are going to dive in. Let's start here, Devin. Yes. So you and I got a chance to talk a little bit.
Yes.
But as I was looking at your bio and reading some of the articles and stuff, my brother loves to cook as well. But he always said, you know what? But if I start doing it commercially, because he thought about it, he said, then it's a job. It's not just fun. So what tell me about, and everybody, about your journey to being a chef first, and then we'll talk about your first business and then Devin's Spiked Root Beer.
Well, I got my gift from my mother. I have to give it to her. I gave it to my mother. My mother started me out because she saw that I was interested in what she was doing you know, on Sundays, on Saturdays, especially Sundays.
Yes.
When she's actually preparing everything the old school way, you chopping, not buying it already pre-cut.
Right.
So it started off that way, and then she just slowly but surely incorporated me in the kitchen. It's like, hey, prepare this, till she actually allowed me to do full-blown Sunday dinner at the age of like 9.
Oh,
so,
wow.
You know, the whole pot roast, pan sear it, you know, do your mirepoix, chop vegetables.
See, for those of y'all that don't know what that is.
So just chop vegetables. So
right.
Yeah, so that's how it all started. And I really didn't know that's what I wanted to do. It took me a couple of decades to really find that thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah. You know, that's so funny because I remember my mom, when we were growing up, we'd come here to Houston. So my mom, she's originally from Virginia, but she grew up here in Houston, right over here in Third Ward. And when we came and we were little, my grandmother would always get us in the kitchen, right, to bake, more than cook, but really baking with her. And we'd have flour and sugar all over the place. And I remember her saying, I used to get so mad, y'all be in the kitchen. Stuff was everywhere. And my grandmother always told her, you need to get these kids in the kitchen. You need to get them in the kitchen, one, so they learn how to cook. But there's math in the kitchen.
It is.
Right? There's science in the kitchen.
It's science. Something that I had to teach myself with the first business, which we'll get to.
Yeah. I mean, it's so those of you who are like, oh, it's just going to be so messy. Get your kids in the kitchen because you never know what's going to come out of that. So let's talk about, so you got this first introduction to cooking with family.
Yes.
Right? And then 20 years later, you decide this is what I want to do.
I was kind of by happenstance.
Okay.
I think it was 2000. I'm sorry. In 2000, before then, 1995, I was a 20-ton crane operator at a steel company. Got fired from that place, which was something that my doctor told me. He was like, she told me, she was like, one or two things need to happen. you need to quit or get fired. You're too healthy to have high blood pressure. That place is stressing you out.
See?
And then I got fired a month later. And I went in for a checkup and she was like, did you get fired?
Right.
She said, congratulations.
Sometimes rejection is protection.
Yeah, it is. So from there, I went into the personal training industry. I used to prepare meals for certain people. And they were like, oh, you should do X.
Yeah.
So that's when I found it.
Yeah.
You know, I've always had it. I used to do it, but I didn't know if that's what I really wanted to do. So a lot of my journey is by unfortunate situations by happenstance.
Right.
You know, that's part of the journey.
Well, you know, I always talk to my clients about kind of this vision. So for me, it's like alignment, vision, action. Those are the three things. Aligning with who you are and where you are, really getting clear on what you want, and then taking action. And so when you and I first started talking, I was like, this is someone who actually took a vision and then actually moved into action. So if you think about, you know, what you said, I moved into personal training. It just so happened in personal training, I was actually doing meals for people. And then other folks were telling me, you should really do this. Now for entrepreneurs, this happened to me too. A lot of folks will tell you what you should be doing that may not be in your zone of genius. And so you wind up doing it because it is something you excel at, but you don't necessarily love. How did you know that kind of this meal prep thing when everybody's saying you should, not putting up any money, right? They're not going to take the risk.
They're never putting up any money.
Never, but they're shitting all over you. How did you decide, you know what? No, I really think this is something that resonates with me.
I really didn't know, to be honest.
That's good.
Yeah, I really didn't know. It's just because of my background, starting with my mother, and I was like preparing small little things, and I went off to college, and I was known as chef because that's how I got an opportunity to eat. To be honest, you know,
y'all hear that?
My parents didn't have the income to send me money all the time, but I had the wherewithal to say I know how to cook, and so to be honest, ladies, y'all always were prepared. Y'all just make sure y'all had food. So, and most of y'all really didn't know how to cook, to be honest.
That's true.
You just ain't feel like cooking. So that's what I would do. I would go to the grocery store with them, buy what they wanted, and cook an abundant amount, and I got to eat. And then the guys, too, were the same deal because they was trying to...
resourcefulness.
And they were like, hey, Devin can cook.
And I like her.
So that's how that came about. And then we fast forward, decades later. And then I was put in that position where, hey, you're doing this, you should do this for people that pay you. You know? And then and at the time I was married, and we used to have people over, and we lived pretty far out, but they would come over. They was like, "Are you cooking?" That was all. If you're cooking, it's worth the drive with their Tupperware in hand. You know how it goes.
See, the plate, the foil.
But a lot of times,
exactly.
But a lot of times you don't know.
You
don't know. It's just like sometimes you're just thrown into something, and you just okay. Well, let me see how this works, and then all of a sudden it clicks. So, but the thing that you asked about. Is it a job? It was never a job for me. It was never. It's just something that I enjoy.
Well, and how did you know? Because here's the thing too for entrepreneurs. You know, it is. So I'm in year 6 of my business, and it was really just in year 5. Y'all have heard me say this before. It was really just in year 5 that I was like, the light bulb went on. I knew I wasn't going back to corporate. That wasn't happening. Right? It was not happening. And yet it was like something was just off. I was still serving. I was doing exceptional work, but something was just off. And then I started really paying attention to not only what made me feel good, but what really made an impact, because it's not about me, right? It's about serving other people. And when I started seeing where the impact was made, I'm like, this is what I said 6 years ago I was going to do when I came out, but I let everybody else tell me what I should be doing. Right. And so now finally 6 years later, it's back. It's those 7-figure women business owners. Because that's where my genius is, right? Moving from founder to CEO. So when you talked about, it came about, it just kind of clicked. How do you tell people to listen for the click?
It's a feeling. It's a feeling that I think a lot of us ignore, which is our gut, our intuition. And we ignore it out of fear and doubt. I call them twins. Once you get over the fear, the twin to come and put all that doubt in your head. Like, you safe doing this. I wouldn't What if nobody likes it? What if no one buys it? And we have a tendency to let that get the best of us. But you have to quiet the noise.
Yeah.
You know, one of the best advice that my father had given me before he passed, he was like, you need to sit down with yourself and quiet.
Yeah.
And understand what's going on around you. And take accountability first, and then you know how to move forward with everything.
See, and we don't have a tendency to take that time to be still.
Exactly.
And be quiet. And that's where you really hear the messages in that stillness.
Yeah, true.
And especially entrepreneurs, you know, I even find myself now like, okay, when am I going to make this time to sit down and really think about the strategy? And not only just think about it, but how does it feel where I'm going right now?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of, I call myself a foolish optimist, right? If it's something that I want to do, I tell myself first, you're about to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm about to do, but I'm about to do this.
Yeah.
So to go back with the muffin business, I had to teach myself how to bake, which we came around and you said the whole thing about.
Yes.
Now I have to teach myself math.
Yes.
And understand my measurements.
It's not a dozen.
Yeah. So with baking, it's a science and it's all about weights and measures.
Yes.
With cooking, it's, you know, you should still do the same thing, but it's more about aunties did it, mama did it, so on and so forth. And the uncle did it when he was out there on the pit or whatever. A fried fish. It was a feel for him.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, we just go by feel, but you have to teach a lot of stuff. I just go out there and I'm just like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
And then I taught myself everything. How to, you know, make. Someone gave me a recipe. They said, try this. I thought it was awful. I recreated it to my liking. Yeah. And I got it to where I wanted. Yeah. And then it was just, I didn't know. I just started doing. Yeah. I know what ingredients I wanted. I know how much to put in there. They started looking a little type of way. I started scaling back, and that's when you got to get a scale. You got to take copious amount of notes. Yes. You know, and date them. Yes. I would tell people, start writing stuff down. Stop with the phones. I know it's convenient, but we need to
write it down. There's a connection.
That's a connection.
You know, when I'm really going after something now I will write it like on my iPad now, but it is my pen and the electronic paper, right? It's the electronic journal, because there's a connection between your brain and your hand.
Correct.
Right. There's a connection between the actually doing it. And there's a study. I just read this article about a month ago. They actually started doing studies in colleges, and kids that are now going back to taking notes by hand versus on their computer are actually doing better in school than those who are just typing. Yeah,
you said it. I just took my daughter. She's going to Texas, and I watched her with the notepad, and she was taking notes. Yeah. Feverishly taking notes. Yes. And I just smiled. I'm like,
that's how you do it. That's where it sticks, you know? So let's talk about, because God, there's just so much. There's so much. We don't have to do this again. Right. So let's talk about this first business. So you started as a trainer, you're starting to cook for people, and then you started baking. And I want to talk about the math and stuff too, but tell us, what is that journey from personal training to baker?
Well, there was something else in between that. So I started the meal prep business first. I started with that, and it was doing well. Yeah. And then I used to watch Johnny Carrabba and his uncle on PBS all the time. So I would videotape it, and a buddy of mine was training at a gym one-on-one years ago, and I saw him. And I just walked up to him, introduced myself. I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm Devin Strahan. I enjoy what you and your uncle do. And he looked and shook my hand slowly.
Of course, like
what's going on?
Right.
But he came back and he was like, who are you again? What did you do?
Right.
And I told him, he said, oh, bring me some food. I met with him, brought him some food. I didn't hear from him for a month. I was like, he didn't like it.
Right.
But fast forward, he came back, he called me, and he took me to breakfast, and it was a wonderful breakfast. Yeah. Where he took me, you saw people that you didn't realize who they were.
Right. I love that.
And what they did in business, right? So he gave me a dose of that, took me to his kitchen. But he asked me this question. He's like, what makes you better than anybody else at what you do? And he asked me this several times as he walked me through his kitchen. He explained, he told me his backstory. And it's beautiful. And he asked me one last time, and he was like, have you figure out what is it that you're really good at. What makes you better than anybody else that you did? And I was like, why you keep asking me this, Johnny? He's like, well, if you don't know, get out of my kitchen. That's the loud version.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I was in my feelings.
Right.
And I was like,
yes.
I thought we were getting along.
Right.
And I understood as I drove away what he was doing.
Yes.
And so from there to come to this point, that's when I decided I'm not going to do the meal prep. I'm just going to dial in and do the muffins, because I remember there was that one thing that people always ask for with a snack. And that's why I said it'll click at some point.
Yes.
And that was that clicking moment for me.
Well, and I think what entrepreneurs often forget or ignore is the one thing, the ideal client. That question of what makes you better than anybody else. Because let me tell you something. There are a million bakers. There are a million coaches. There are whatever you're doing. There's a million of those doing it, right? And here's the thing. But nobody does it like you do it.
Facts.
Nobody does it like you do it. And so even like when I talk to clients now, I'm like, yes, you're an interior designer. I have some amazing interior designer clients. And there are tons of interior designers and they battle that every day. But each of them has a niche that makes them specifically unique. And here's the thing, somebody's always watching. And there are billions of people on this earth. Yeah. So just because that one person doesn't see your genius in something, there's somebody else that's looking for you. So you got to keep showing up.
You got to show them.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to show them. And you've got to be able to answer that question, what makes you unique? What makes you the best at what you do?
That's
right. And so you met with Carrabba and now you're like, you know what? Let me go back and evaluate.
Exactly.
And look at the information that I'm getting. We've talked about this. Yeah. Data, information, gather that. Yes. You know what? I'm doing this meal prep.
But
it's making money, but
it's that one thing that people are always asking for.
Yes.
Because you can get food anywhere. Like I said,
yes.
At that point, it wasn't that many people doing meal prep. But it was on a come up slowly.
Yes.
So the deal was to dial it in and what makes people know you, what do they know you for?
Yes.
Right?
What are you known for? Yes.
Yeah. So that was a deal or whatever, and I thought about it because he said I'm known for Carrabba's restaurant, Italian food. That's what I'm known for. When they think of Johnny, they think of that. That's because that's what I'm known for.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's what the whole deal was. He's trying to get me to understand that. And that's when it dawned on me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna bake these muffins. And then I was still personal training and I had a client and it pains me that I don't remember her name, right? Yeah. But she was extremely instrumental. Let me pause right there. As entrepreneurs, please get out of the mindset that I'm not gonna tell anybody what I do, right? I'm afraid that they're gonna take my idea. I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe when I was like really going through something, just trying to figure it out with the business. And he's like, you are different. Tell people what you're doing because you never know who can help you.
You never know.
You never know who can help you. So this lady I was training, she asked one day and she was like, what else do you do? I think it's something there, but this is not it.
Right.
And I said, oh, I bake muffins. She said, where are they? I told them, they're in the cooler in the gym. She bought them 2 days later. And she was like, why isn't your name on that product? And I said, I was like, well, that part, I don't know. But also I was like, I didn't want anyone to know who I was. Yeah. Right. And I still kind of battle with that.
Yeah.
And she was explaining to me, she's like, it doesn't matter. I actually said they need to know who you are.
Yes.
Put your name on the product. She said that product needs to be called Devin's Tasty Muffins.
Yes.
And I battled with it for a couple of days and I did it and it popped. Then I ran into someone else. Yeah. And it was like, oh, you're the guy that make the muffins, the muffin man. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh. So that person said, you need to introduce yourself that way.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Devin, I'm the muffin man.
Yeah.
So because the deal is, because my clients, she say, they're not expecting you.
Right.
They're not expecting you.
That part.
Yeah. They're not expecting you. And this was a white lady that was in the world of business and building So she's playing with the big boys.
See?
And she
you
played.
never know.
Yeah, so she understood it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's like, they're not expecting. She's like, when I go in these certain meetings on these buildings, they're not expecting me.
Yes.
But I'm here to play.
And that's the thing, right?
Yes.
If you're serious, you got to come to play. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance, exactly. Right? You got to come to play. That doesn't mean you come thinking you're the smartest person in the room. No. In fact, you need to know you're not.
Yes.
Right? Now you need to put your game face on. And you need to know how to say, that's a really good question. Let me think about that. As opposed to, I don't know. No. Right?
For real.
I have no problem with saying I don't know, but you got to know which rooms
say I don't know in.
You say I don't know in, right? And then just kind of dig in if it's something that really is your purpose.
Yes.
That you're being driven to do. So now you're the muffin man.
I'm the muffin man.
Now you're the muffin man. So let's talk about this first business, right? Because you're here now because of that.
Yes.
So take us through like how you built it up. So I'm gonna leave y'all as a cliffhanger, right? All the stuff that happened with this first business.
Yes. So in the beginning, I started the business off because I was honestly I was broke.
Yeah, I get it.
I was going through a divorce, struggling with what am I going to do now, as far as like my life and my career. And I got 3 kids. You know, with 3 kids, and you got child support.
Absolutely.
And you also got your own living that you have to take care of as well. So
college coming up. Well, right.
That's now.
Right.
That's now. So it was just I was struggling with trying to like, okay, how am I get the money to pay for this? So I asked a dear friend of mine. I was like, I need a solid. He said, what you need? I need $50 so I can go buy some ingredients. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool, come get it. Yeah. So I went to what is it? Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yep.
I bought 2 muffin pans, 2 scoops, a couple bowls, and went and got the ingredients that I needed. And I baked it to test it out. And that's how I started my business with $50. You know.
It doesn't take $1 million, y'all, to start.
So, and that's another thing is we have to get out of the mindset of if I get the money, when I do this, when I do that, when I do this, that's fear and doubt playing with you. Yes. They get the best of you, tell them to shut up and move forward and execute. Someone hates me when I say that. We know who that person is. But
we're looking at you. Right?
But that's my whole deal. Is like, if you're gonna do it and execute. Just execute. You can figure it out along the way. Right. You don't need to have everything that you need because you have everything. All you're doing is delaying time.
Exactly. Right? And time is not renewable, y'all. Once it's gone, it's gone.
It's like sleep. Once you said you're asleep, there's no catching up when you sleep.
Right.
So from there, I baked them. I printed out the label. I went to the gym that I was working at, put them in there, and then started from there. And then I got into another gym, and then a meal prep service. Then I started doing the farmers markets, which before they're how big they are now. Right. This was on the small. So I was doing it every Tuesday, and I built the following. Yes. And then the company Mindset Foods came around. And when they came around, I jumped on board with their very first store, and from there I grew. With every store. So I was in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, several HEB kiosks, and also in the West Coast as well because of that.
That's where they were. Yeah.
That's where they were. So I grew with them. So that's that story. But the whole deal is just people just start.
Just start.
If you got an idea and you really believe in it, and stop waiting from affirmation and confirmation from everybody that hasn't done anything remotely close to what you want to do. I've ever started anything.
So I'm like, so here's the thing. 1, focus on the what, because the how will take care of itself.
Exactly.
We get look, y'all, proper prior planning prevents poor performance. I am a planner.
Yes.
I am a planner. But it is one thing that I've had to really get over as I built a business is I'm not gonna know the how of everything. Now, I'm really good at what and how for other people. It's easy to see other people's stuff. That's why I'm an exceptional business advisor. That's why I call it Chief Navigation Officer. I know what I'm doing. It's so much easier when you're doing stuff for other folks, right? Than looking at your own stuff, which is why entrepreneurs need entrepreneurs, coaches need coaches, doctors need doctors. You need to surround yourself with folks, right? And have your village, have your folks who have got your back no matter what, who are going to tell you the truth, all that kind of stuff. And get folks around you who have been where you're trying to go.
Yes. And it goes back to, you need to tell people what you're doing.
Right.
Right. Because you never know. Like a dear friend of mine right now, Javier, I've seen him at the gym like all the time for years, and he knew what I was doing. Because I used to wear this shirt when I didn't sell anything. Right.
Always putting the name out there.
Always.
Yes.
The folks, where your product goes not in stores now.
Right.
You have any something? Don't have anything made, but I got a T-shirt.
Yeah. And you're gonna remember. You're gonna be looking for them.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, it's just one of those things. Just tell people what you do. And I'm gonna keep saying that because it's really important. Because everything that I have going on and the opportunities that I've had, because I wasn't afraid to tell people what I was doing.
You know, and it's funny that you say that, because one of the things I'm really weird about certifications, y'all. Y'all know how I feel about them. I'm iffy on certification, and I got a lot of them. But I'm actually doing a certification now that I love, because it's a program with someone who just speaks my language, right? Just some of the things she says, I'm like, I've been saying that for years. Like one of the things we're talking about now is the 5 whys. I've been doing the 5 whys for years, because all of my experience, whether it was consulting or in the actual business, was in manufacturing. You do 5 whys. I do that with my clients all the time. Root cause analysis, right? And that's the way my brain works. Why? It's my favorite question. But it's funny that you say, tell people what you're doing, because one of the things I've challenged myself with is go out there and say, look, y'all know me. I'm exceptional. Here's what I'm looking for. Just refer somebody. And here's my commitment to you. Number one, if we do business, they're going to be extremely pleased. But number two, if we're not the right fit, I know a lot of people, and I have no problem doing referrals.
Yeah, exactly. And you
none whatsoever. We should.
You should not fear giving someone a referral.
Because service is not about you. Service is not about me, right? It's about the person you're trying to serve, right? And so when you keep that in mind with what you're doing, it opens up so many avenues for you. And someone's always watching, and they watch how you move.
Someone's always watching too. And my children, they used to ask me this question when we used to be out and about a lot. Do you know that person? Right? And I was like, no. There's like, but you speak to everyone. I say, you make eye contact, I would smile, I would nod, I would say hello to you. Right. Because you never know who you're saying hello to. And
you never know when somebody, all they need is a smile and a hello.
That's it.
That's it. They don't need nothing else. They just need to know it's okay that they exist, right, that day. So now you're in My Fit Foods.
Yes. And things are going
great.
Absolutely phenomenal. I wrote down, before I got into My Fit Foods, I saw an article with Rachel Ray. And she was talking about this $1 million thing or whatever, and you should write down what you want or whatever. Right. So I wrote down on a piece of paper, I want to sell $1 million in muffin sales. Right. Right. And I put it on my refrigerator, because I know every time I go to the refrigerator, I got to see it. Right. So that goes back to one of my favorite books, The Alchemist.
Yes. Oh, I love that book.
Yes.
Yes.
So whatever you put out in the universe conspires to get you what you want. So, and I did. And that happened for me. But I did several things wrong as well. This is not he made $1 million and it was beautiful as an entrepreneur, and I can do it too. Yes, you can, but it's things that you have to be aware of, and I wasn't. Right? I was excited. I was making that money. I hit my goal, but I didn't set another goal. I put all my eggs in one basket. So fast forward, a gentleman that worked there, that was like one of the heads, he asked one day, was in a meeting, he's like, what do you think will happen to this company if I leave? And I was like, in 30 days, it'll die. And I told myself I had an opportunity to sell the business. I didn't. I wanted to hold on for 2 more years. I was like, 15 years is it. 15 years, I probably can get what I want. I can do something else. I didn't get to see 15 years. A year later, I got a phone call. I was in New York on my way back from a person that doesn't call me. That's and when you know. And that particular time, and I picked up, and I was like, you good? He's like, such and such just left the company. And my heart broke. Flew back to Houston, went straight to the office, and it was just like
chaos.
It was not good, and I knew that 30 days later, my world crumbled financially. So this is not a love story.
Right.
It's not a romantic story by no means. It's a real story that a lot of entrepreneurs need to understand. It's what you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
But don't beat yourself up about it. Take it as a learning lesson and move forward. And that's the thing that I hold doing this business here.
Right.
So I was in my Fit Foods and 65 plus locations in several cities. And I had an opportunity to expand the business, get an opportunity to get into Costco, opportunity to get into Central Market as well. But I had the wrong partnership as far as like a co-packer.
Right.
Where my vision was to expand was not theirs. You know, and you have to make sure going in, and if you need a co-packer, if you have a partnership, does that partnership in line with what your vision for your business is? Yes. Because if it doesn't, you're going to find yourself in a very sticky situation where it's going to get nasty. Yes. And it got nasty, unfortunately. Yeah. But that's the price of doing business if you don't have it laid out what you want. Yes. To quote someone, and it's hilarious. Right. Should ignite what that paperwork looked like.
Look, let me tell you something. Before I even started, before I did one thing, I had my LLC. I had things copyrighted. I said every 10 episodes are copyrighted, right? I got all my ducks in a row. Yes. And when I talk to my clients, I've had several clients that are like, ooh, I wanted this partnership. Did you get it in writing? In writing. Before, while everybody was nice and friendly, get the rules laid out in the beginning.
See how friendly they get. My father was a union president for Wyoming Gordon for years. And he was like, no one wins in negotiations. Right. He's like, get that in your thick head. Yeah. Because you're going to give up something, they're going to take something, and it's vice versa. So no one ever gets everything they want in negotiation. Right. So don't go in there thinking, well, I'm going to get this, and if I don't, I'm going to bounce. And it's okay to bounce.
That's a choice.
Yeah. But understand.
What that means.
It's okay.
Right. Yes.
For you to do so. So I didn't have proper paperwork with my co-packer, and nor did I have proper paperwork with my Fit Foods as well. And I learned this afterwards. Yes. Because I should have had something written down solid as far as like what my expectations for the growth of my business was. Absolutely. And if you don't execute A, B, C, and D, you have a problem. Yes. Right? Yes. Then the same thing with my Fit Foods, where I could have had something in play where we had an agreement for, say, every 2 years. Right. We will revisit the evaluation on the growth of the business. Yes. And if I'm hitting these markers, we get to move forward. Exactly. In an event that you decide to terminate, you owe me a percentage. Absolutely. Of my gross revenue. Yes. Right. I didn't know this. Right. I was told this after. So don't be upset if when you don't know certain things. Right. It's okay not to know. Right. But it's what you do with the information. My dad used to say, mildly, things will happen, son. It's a matter of what are you going to decide to do? Are you going to sit in it? Right. Or are you going to clean yourself up and move forward? Right. Dr. Miles Monroe used to say that, okay, grieve, cry about it, bury it, had a funeral. It's time to move on. Time to move on. Yeah. And that's what I think. There's a couple of things I think happens with entrepreneurs, and this is especially women, right? Our heart gets all in it. Men too. Right? See, our heart gets all in it. We love this baby, and business may be executed with love, but it's not about loving your business. You may love the actions you take, love the work that you, love the impact that you make, but you're running a business. You are. And that is not about emotion. And when you're emotional, you make emotional decisions that keep you to say, oh, but we get along so well. Oh, but it'll be fine. Yes. Stop. Yeah. I call that operating out of desperation. Yes. I tell people do not operate out of desperation, because I've been there, because you panic. Yes. And you need the money. Yep. So you start moving desperately, and they can tell when you move desperately or whatever. They take advantage. You can't be upset. Right. They just seize the moment, seize the opportunity. Yes. You can't be mad about that. When I lost the business, and I was still doing private chef for one family, and really smart businessman. Was straight numbers guy. Super excited about numbers. So he asked one day, as I'm preparing dinner for them, he said, "What happened to the business?" So he said, "I know you and my wife talk all the time."
Right.
I asked her, she couldn't explain it. So right. To you. So I told him, and he asked these questions. Did you have an opportunity to sell? I said, yes. He's like, how much liquid did you have in the bank? At the time, I had 50K liquid, strong, right? Whatever. Strong
man, right? Strong is relative, right?
I found out how strong you wasn't.
Right.
So he said, okay, so how much were you going to sell it for? I gave him the number, and he was like, okay, 750 actually. And he's like, oh, so did you have 750K in the bank? I said, no. He said, so what's your counter? I said 500,000, but I want to collect 2 to 3% royalties for the next 24 to 36 months. That way I can hit my 15. Right. He said, oh, nice counter. He said, because now you're gonna get paid even more. Right? He said,
over time.
He's like, oh, he said, that's smart.
Right.
He said, but you didn't take it. I said, no. He said, oh, so you didn't have 500,000. Right. I said, no. He's like, He's like, so the deal is this. He's like, so what was the plan? I said, I wanted to get to 15 years and then good. I said, but it's my baby now. He's like, that's not your baby. Your business is not your baby.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
It's not. It's a business.
Yeah.
You can nurture it like that.
Yes.
But you got to take the emotion out of it because nobody cares.
Right.
And you have to cultivate the business to grow where you want to be honest about your direction with the business.
Absolutely.
So when I told him that, he's like, well, Devin, this is the deal. He's like, you never know. He's like, because think about it like this. If you sold it and then if they were still around and then they sold it to someone, they sold it for 20 million, you'll be feeling some type of way.
Exactly.
He said, so you never know. He said, so that is a double-edged sword when it comes to the opportunity for you to sell your business. Either bring in someone for the business as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that same emotion, you know, we gotta think about that when we're building businesses also with people. Because that's where that genius zone for me, right? Is look, mission first, people always.
Yes.
Because here's the deal. If the business isn't healthy, nobody's got a job.
Facts.
So treat your people well, right? Treat them well because you want them to represent you well. You want them to do the work that you want them to do. But it is a business. Make the hard call. Set clear expectations. Eliminate the problem child early. And take your time to hire the non-problem child, right? Hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, because you will have problematic issues with any business, which we'll talk about when we get to the root beer as well. But I read in this book one time, this guy was like, you have to be able to fire people.
You have to.
You have to be okay with firing people. You can't let people linger because they're taking away from the growth of the business. You have business to grow the business, not be stagnant with the business. And if you're dealing with that person that's not really contributing to your business, like these are the goals for the business. These are my expectations for the business. There's nothing personal, but this is what I need. If you want to keep your job, this is what I need. And if you feel like you can't do your job, I understand.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity of working with us, but I wish you will.
Yes. I say you're helping somebody be successful somewhere else.
Exactly.
Right? I'm just saying, right? I know you're going to be successful. You just can't do that here, baby. Love you. As our friend says, send them away with LOVE, right? So, you just got to do that. So you've gone through this thing.
Yes.
The business is gone. You didn't sell. You should have sold. You're doing all the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
All the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and if I did have.
And then we get to this new vision.
Yes. So I went through a period of, I was in just a bad mental space, excuse me, with what I'm going to do now.
Yeah.
I went from making some good money to no money.
Yeah.
And now you got to get a job. You got to get a job.
Yeah.
Now you have to humble yourself to go get a job.
Right. So after being an entrepreneur and your own boss.
Yeah.
Ego.
The ego or something. But I got over it in a reasonable time period. It didn't linger for like months and months and years because I know I still had children to take care of. I got to take care of myself as well.
Right.
But this is when my father's, all the information that he gave me before he passed started really flooding. It's like, You have work ethic. You know how to work.
Yes.
Go work.
Yeah.
Humble yourself. Go work.
Go work
until you can do what you want to do, and that's facts. So I went and did a stage at a couple of restaurants. They knew who I was, and you'd be surprised how small the industry is.
Oh yes.
I was like, oh, I know who you are. You was
the
a fan of
man,
your,
right?
The Muffin Man. He said when I saw the name, I wasn't for sure if it's the same person. I was like, you need a job,
right?
Yeah, and that's what folks were asking.
Yes.
And that's the sad part.
Humiliation, right?
They're
you gotta
like,
get yourself past that.
They're like, you need a job,
right?
But you had a business,
yeah.
Or yes, I do need a job.
Yes.
And I appreciate
and yes, I did have a business.
Yeah, and I did have a business. But this is what I need to do now.
Yes.
So I couldn't get hired because of my entrepreneur background.
Right.
Was not good.
Right.
Because they want to do one thing, hire you as a manager.
Yes.
Now they have to invest dollars into you.
Yes.
And if you don't stick around, they lost. They
Exactly.
They're not willing to take that risk.
Yes.
So I lived right next door to Costco, and there's a liquor store, WB liquor store, that's connected to it. And I walked in there because I used to go buy wine and whiskey for my clients. And I said, hey, y'all got a sign? And I was like, can I fill out the application? She was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And he's like, I got you. Fill out the application, and I started working there. So after being there for a month, I just looked around, and it's so many vodkas,
right?
So many tequilas, so many wines, so many beers, so on and so forth. And in 2015, that's when the craft beer industry was really starting to boom. So I just looked around, and I'm not a fan of beer. I just don't like the way it tastes. And I said, you did it before, create something else. You did it before, create something else.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to do this with root beer.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic. I like root beer growing up. My kids love root beer to this day. Yeah. You know, so that's how that path came along. So 2 days later, after I came up with the idea, and 2 days later, I was on my way to the gym, and I looked in the mirror. I was like, you about to do this again. You're about to exceed the expectations of what you did before.
Yes.
Go get these people what they waiting on. But that journey was 7 years to get to where I'm at now.
Did y'all hear that? Yeah. 7 years. It's not overnight.
Yeah, it's not overnight. It's not overnight.
Despite what you see on social media, they don't make, unless they had funding.
Yeah.
And a trust fund, they don't make that overnight.
No, they don't. So it was a lot of work getting there. A lot of people stringing you along.
Oh yes.
You know, but I was always prepared because of a book that I read, and there's a passage in this book where this guy and his wife, they went off to California to pursue their endeavors of being public speakers. It didn't quite work out, so go to pay phone call Dad.
Right.
And he said, before I even got to say anything, Dad asked him this question: did you complete the task that you set out to do? He asked him one last time.
Ooh, that hits.
Did you complete the task that you set out to do? If the answer is no, we have nothing to talk about.
See, that sounds like my dad.
And I carried that.
Yeah.
All that time, and I still carry that. You know.
Yeah.
I have not completed the task that I set out to do.
Golly. Y'all, look. I'm like, literally, my heart hurt because I'm telling you, entrepreneurship is ups and downs.
It is. I don't think people understand that entrepreneurship, 90% of it is, it's not okay. It's not. It's painful. It's not okay. It's painful. You have to be wired and built for this. And I put it in perspective like this: what is the worst thing that I've ever had to endure was losing my father. Saw him on a Monday, Tuesday he passed away. So that's the worst thing I had to go through. You know?
Yes.
So me dealing with that, this is nothing.
I tell people all the time, what's my worst case scenario when I thought about doing this business? Because, you know, when you leave corporate, people are like, you left that good job? Well, yes, you left that good job?
Is it really that good?
You know how much money you make? You know you got that title? You know, yeah. And I got
alphabet soup.
70 extra pounds and all kinds of stress too for that good job, right? But I remember thinking, one, they're never going to pay me what I'm worth because nobody can pay me what I'm worth because I'm priceless because I'm here, right? But the other piece of that is really recognizing that you're put here for a purpose.
Purpose. Mm-hmm.
You're put here for a purpose. And if you think about what your worst case scenario is, right? Risk manager here, enterprise risk management. I'm like, my worst case scenario is, okay, I have to sell everything I own, sell my house, get rid of my stuff, right? But as long as I have, my mom is still here. My dad passed away in 96. So my mom is still here. My brother's here. I got cousins in Dallas. I'm not going to be homeless and I'm not going to be hungry.
Correct.
So my worst case scenario is I'm going to be embarrassed.
That's temporary though. Embarrassment is how much of it do you allow?
Right. It's emotional.
It's emotional. Because if you own that and you put it out there, people will take advantage of it.
Oh, yes.
But I had the mindset of I really didn't care what you thought. I was riding a bike at 4:30 in the morning to get to Trader Joe's.
See?
Like 6 miles. I'm 47 years old.
But you do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. When I was going through the child support issues and I went from, saying $10,000 a week to making $10 an hour.
Right.
Child support got a hold of that, and I was making $5 an hour.
Right.
That's real talk.
That's real.
That's documented.
Yes, that's real.
But I still have to humble myself and work for $5 an hour at 40-some years of age. So when people sit there, well, I want to be a business, do you really?
Do you really?
Do you really? Because I can test you on that.
Right.
7
years.
90% of this is pain.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
90%. Then you get that 10, but that 10 still is a split.
Right.
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 Because maybe their 5 is like their real good joy. And if you ever played golf, and it's like you can go out there and knock it all in the bushes, but you get that one good
It
swing.
feels so good.
It feels so good that you're gonna come.
And I've done that one time.
you go like, I can do this.
Right.
I'm Tiger. No, you're not.
Right. And we'll never be.
And never be. But it's okay. But you're out there. But you're participating.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So as 7 years, and now.
Yes. And now, I did a lot of work. I got with a co-packer in Conroe, because this goes back to tell people what you're doing and what you need.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They will, some people will direct you. I always hear the thing, and I think folks start pulling it from Oprah.
Right.
No one is coming to save you.
Right.
But there are people that are willing to help you.
Yes.
They need to start putting that at the end of that.
Yes.
No one is going to come to save you, but people will help you.
They will help you.
And because I told this guy, this is my predicament, I'm trying to get this out. He said, hey, you need to reach out to this person. Reached out to this guy. Reached out to this guy out in Conroe. Absolutely phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
Just a good guy.
Yes. Yeah.
He's never told me no. He's like, we're going to figure this out. And because of him, we got on board 2019. COVID hit, put everything on hold. Then we got everything rolling. And I was still working odds and ends job, doing deliveries. I worked for Amazon.
Right. We know
then I ended up working at Total Wine anymore. I ended up working there. Now I'm selling the Total Wine anymore.
Yeah. See?
And I tell myself certain things that I want. I write them down. Like I say, I want to be on TV.
Yeah.
Then a guy came in, the
Yes.
store that worked for Channel 2.
Yep.
And he was just watching me interact with customers. Or he's like, you need to be on TV. Let me figure this out.
Right.
2 weeks later, when inflation was big, I ended up being on TV there one time. I talked to another young lady. I didn't realize, tell people what you do.
See?
She ended up being a producer for Fox in the Super Bowl. I ended up being on Fox doing the Super Bowl deal for my root beer. And then the guy circled back around and worked for Channel 2. He's like, we're going to do a follow-up on you. And that's the thing that I sent you. So,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell people what you do. You never know who can help you out and put you in a position.
Yes.
Let me say this to entrepreneurs. We have this thing where we're afraid to tell people what we do. But tell people everything you do and tell people what you need.
Yeah.
Right? Tell them what you need.
Yes.
So, and at the end of this, because most people say, well, let me know if you need anything. Right? So I want you to start saying this to them. Yeah. When someone asks you, after you laid everything out what you need, say to them this. What does that mean? Does that mean I can call you for advice?
Oh, that's good.
Does that mean when I get to a certain point in the business and you have that connection, you feel like I can help my business move forward?
Yes.
You'll give me that contact at that time when you feel like I'm ready?
Yes.
Or is that financial?
Oh, that's good.
Right?
That's good.
Because now you know what I can go to this person for. Because not everybody can go to financially.
Absolutely. Not everybody's saying it meaning it. They're just saying it because it's response.
It's response.
Yeah.
It's like, I love you. I love you too.
Right. But do you really?
Do you really?
Right.
Cause no.
Right. Because that's what this means to me.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but that's something I tell a lot of folks. Just know what you want. Be determined. Execute.
Yes.
Go with purpose and execute.
Yes.
Just know.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I didn't know how to make root beer.
Yeah.
I didn't. I had
you figured it out.
I figured it out.
Yes.
I taught myself how to carbonate, the formulations, how to dilute alcohol. I had to teach myself that. My first formulation was rum, and I was getting people trapped because I didn't understand the conversion of sugar to champagne, yeast, alcohol, and how it all gets together. And it's having a great conversation. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, I really like you," and they say, "No, they got a whole lot of baby soda." Add the alcohol content up, and you don't realize it. Like there's a whole family in here. That's
the problem.
Now you thought your product was 8%, and it's 18.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Just do. Yeah. You'll get it right.
Y'all, STEM folks, see, here's a reason to stay in STEM, right? You get to learn how to distill alcohol, right? You get to know the measurements, right? And then you can intentionally be ever clear, right? So,
I wouldn't go there.
Or not, right? And we're gonna do some shout outs here in a minute. Normally we do them earlier, but I just been so caught up in this conversation. It's so important what you just said about having a response to a question or a statement when somebody says either how can I help you or let me know how I can help you or let me know when you need some help. Because I was just at a conference and Dr. J, Alyssa Abdullah, she was President Obama's CIO. And she said, one of the things I learned in corporate was people will always say, let me know how I can help. Let me know how I can help. And I'm like, or how can I help you? I'm like, I don't know. She said, I learned when they ask that question, I'm like, you can bring my name up in rooms where I'm not present. You see something that makes sense for me because you know me. My ask of you, the way you can help me is to bring my name up. Yeah. So it's that same kind of thing. When somebody says, I see your vision. Let me know how I can help. Yes. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Does that mean connections? Does that mean money?
Yes.
Right? Does that mean time? Does that mean my expertise? I am willing to give you every piece of knowledge that I have. What does it mean? Then you can move accordingly.
They move, and then it takes out the emotion and feeling like I knew they weren't going to help me because we'd be quick to say that, but we never thought about asking those questions.
It's not unkind to be clear.
Yeah.
Right? Ask the clarifying question.
Yeah. It's really important, truly important.
I love that. Okay, we're going to do some quick shout outs.
Okay, we're in Canada, Philippines, United Kingdoms, Iran, France, Mexico, Brazil, Germany, Finland, Rio de Janeiro, Panama City, Hamburg, also Frankfurt, Helsinki, Dallas, Fort Worth, Charlotte, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Raleigh, Omaha, Kansas City, Washington, and Houston.
I love it. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in, man. Look, this audience is amazing. It's amazing. And I am so appreciative that y'all choose to spend time with me on a Tuesday morning around the world. In Helsinki, I still got you on the list. Y'all are top. Y'all, they come in some serious numbers. Actually, the whole list is on my list for some pop-ups coming up, y'all, over the next year or so. So as we get ready to kind of close it out, because we're just I think we need to have another conversation too around just kind of the decisions that we make and the partnerships that we make, and how we do things intentionally, right? And how we get our mindsets right around emotion versus ego versus impact versus action. How do we, especially if you're truly serious about this entrepreneurship thing, how do you get your mind right? Because it starts there.
Yeah, it's really important to have your mind right, because it'll get the best of you. And I have my days, and as the business grows, and I set monthly goals for my business. And so every week it's a goal just to reach that goal. Then from that monthly, then it's the quarterly. I don't like, even though I did write myself a big number down as far as what I want to do for the business. Right. That's the ultimate goal, But you need to make these little I call them breadcrumbs to your destination.
Yes.
Lay down the bread, enjoy the breadcrumbs to your destination. Don't be asking for the whole loaf. Because when things don't pan out, when you get the whole loaf, you're like, oh, I'm full already on a quarter of it.
Right.
Then folks ask, so what have happened to such and such? Well, it just wasn't the right time. No, you weren't prepared.
Right. Oh.
Just be honest. You were not prepared for the opportunity.
There's that dagger again, y'all. Right.
You know, and it's true because I've dealt with people like that. And I was like, no, you just weren't prepared. And I've been really blessed and fortunate and really favored on my journey. It's not been easy by no stretch. I don't want people to think, oh, well, no, I did not.
Right.
And every day, it's always something that's on my mind for the business because the way I'm driven.
Yeah.
Because I have not completed the task that I set out to do.
Y'all, this is real talk, okay? And this is what I think is so important about the things we do and how we show up, right? It's being aligned, being really clear on who you are. Like deep knowledge, you know?
Soul searching. I mean, like come to terms with yourself. Like be real and honest with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror.
Yes.
The best time to do it is in the morning out the shower.
Right. Right.
Seriously.
Know who you are.
Know who you are.
Know
That's
who
when
you are.
That's when you're fully vulnerable.
Yes.
It's just you and that mirror.
Exactly. Ooh. And let me tell you, it is so important for you to be honest with who you are because who you are is always going to show up.
It will.
There's only so much you can hide. Now, don't get me wrong, and I'm not talking code switching, right, that we all end up having to do at some point, especially Black folks, right, where you really are not your authentic self because it's not safe to be. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's a different Laurel that goes to the corporate meeting with the CEO than is hanging out with my girlfriends. It's still me. Yes. But which part of me shows up depends on the situation, right? But you have to know, and I know at my very core that in both of those situations, I am still authentic to who I am, right? And I also know that there are things about me that just aren't going to change.
True. No matter how much you try to.
Right? I just told all these folks, I'm like, I don't have a poker face. I don't have one. I'm never going to get one. I'm not going to do the work to get one. It's not happening. I got other stuff to do, right? Exactly. But because I am so self-aware and I have a tendency to be very aware of my surroundings. It's just one of my zones of genius, right? I'm able to connect dots. I'm able to see things that people don't see. I am very cognizant then of what words I use and what tone I use.
Correct.
So as I told him last week, my face may be saying, have you lost your mind? But my words say, help me understand how you came to that conclusion.
Yes.
And what I've learned over time, I used to say that just because I was trying not to say what I really wanted to say. I learned to say that and listen to the answer. Because people don't do things without some kind of thought, even if it's subconscious. So if I know what your thought process is, I know how to address that, either to support it or negate it. But if I don't know it, I don't know what to do, right? So you got to know you, and you got to be willing to decide and make a choice about the things you will and will not do.
Correct.
Right? So you have listened to someone who is building his second business. And it's actually a combination of all the stuff that you have learned. The pain, the triumph, right? I bet your paperwork is good this time.
My paperwork is
right? It's not sitting in the trauma of failure.
That's not going to get you anything.
No, it's sitting in the triumph of having learned something.
Yeah, exactly. That's a fantastic way of putting it.
You know?
Absolutely a phenomenal way of putting it.
Because what is that saying? I don't fail. I either win or I learn.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's factual. Because folks like put the emphasis on, well, it failed. Well, Ford built the first engine.
Right.
Right? I'm just saying.
Right.
You know, but you make tweaks. That's what the pivot is about.
Yes.
And it's okay. Yeah. Stop worrying about it. I have this thing like I have to change the way I say it because it hits differently. Versus us saying, well, I really don't care what people think or say. Like I'm just conscious of what I'm putting out there. Right.
Yes.
I'm more self-aware of me and I'm more concerned about what I think versus everyone else.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, we have to get out of the mindset. And a dear friend of mine, he brought it to my attention because and that's the mile way.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And he's like, Stop saying
Stop
that.
saying that.
Stop
Right.
saying that. He said, because what you do is, and it full circle back around to my father said it to me one time. And so it sounded like my dad was speaking through him.
Yes.
You need to tell Devin for me.
Yes.
So he's just like, stop saying I don't give a about what people think, because you do, and it hurts because you're human. Yes. And it's okay to feel that.
Yes.
But you have to put yourself in the mindset of, I need to be more concerned about what feels good to me,
right,
and what I think about it,
right,
and make sure you have the right people that are honest with you,
yes,
about what you're presenting, because they know when you present something, you valuing their opinion. Absolutely.
And it's not about not caring; it's about what you let get deep in your spirit.
Yes.
Because words matter,
they do,
and words get deep.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one, who am I listening to? Because all information is information. All information is data. So I may not internalize what you think,
yes,
but I'm going to listen to what you think in terms of, who are you? What is your influence and what is your circle? Does that have any connection to me? If it doesn't, okay, thank you. Kind of like Tracy Ellis Ross. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and keep moving. But if you're connected to me, I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to let me just marinate on that a bit.
Yeah.
I still may not agree with all of that, but it's giving me information upon which I may need to act.
Sometimes it's good to just listen.
Just listen.
Just listen. My mother, I used to say that. She's like, the problem with y'all don't listen.
Right.
And a dear friend of mine, she said the same thing recently. Yeah. She's like, a lot of people now, they listen to react.
Listen to respond. I tell people all the time, listen to understand, not respond.
Yeah, it's okay just to take it all in and not say nothing. Say, okay, I get it, I understand.
It's called listening actively. Yeah. And here's the thing, even if you're irritated, the person, you don't want to have know anything that they have to say, they irritate you, but here's the deal. Remember I said it's all about perspective, right? Yes. How do you know your perspective if you've never heard anybody else's? And even if you're irritated and you don't respect them and all these kind of things, well, think about it this way, shifting perspective. I may not agree, or I may not have a lot of respect, but if I listen to you, at least I can then strengthen my argument because I know what yours is.
Yes.
It's about information.
Information is capital.
Information is capital, right? Well, y'all, we are at an hour. We could go on for another hour or so.
That was fast.
It was. This has been so incredibly amazing. Devin, thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. This was y'all. I hope you took notes, lots of notes. This has just been amazing. Hey, Jay. Thank you for tuning in. This has been amazing, an incredible conversation. I hope you got as much out of it as I did, because there were some things that I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna have to go sit on that and get my mind right. And let me, real quick, I need y'all to get registered, right? Please go vote, because we got some crazy stuff happening. The 2 folks in Tennessee that were ousted did win their primaries. So come on, Tennessee, we got to get them back in there. There are some things happening, hopefully across the state, because Alabama has to rewrite their gerrymandered maps. Yeah. So Texas, get ready, because see, we got some of that shadiness going on here too. So I need y'all to get registered. I need you to educate yourself on the issues. I need you to educate yourself on what's going on locally. It starts locally, especially school boards, right? Especially school boards. So get educated, go get registered, check your registration, because a lot of people are getting kicked off. Arizona, they were trying to kick people off. If you missed one vote, they were going to kick you off the rolls. So go check and make sure you're ready. And young folks, I'm counting on you, because y'all are coming on strong. So get educated, get registered, exercise your right to vote. Please. Companies, how is it that you can make all of your vacation schedules, but you can't figure out how to make Election Day a company holiday? I'm just saying. You got floating holidays, make one of them Election Day. Then you don't have to worry about people not showing up, right, for work. So go do that. Just think about that. So I'm challenging y'all to do that. So please do that. And I'll talk about it more next week, but the new website is up, laurelrutledge.com. Go out there, go see it. Reach out to me. All my social is out there as well. And there are some freebies for you. There's 12 minutes of free inspiration you can get, and some things for entrepreneurs as well. And a thing you can do for 30 days to shift your perspective. So I'll be posting more about that, so you'll get it. Thank y'all for tuning in. As always, thank you again, Devin, for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity.
And we will catch y'all next week. Same time, same channel, KCOH TV Radio, Global Network, The Boost here in Houston, Texas. Take care, y'all. Bye. Thank you, Mama Young. KCOH TV,
Boost, playing the best